These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation.
Nothing like a reckless speculation Thursday. We bring in our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department for inside information and some fun speculation about our Minnesota sports teams. Darren, hello, and happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to you and all who celebrate.
Good morning, Philip. Hi, Judd. Good morning, Declan. It's time for Governor Walz. He did it last Friday for Teemu Pukki Day. By the way, Teemu Pukki, his first goal with the Loons last night right here, at least in our building on our family of networks, right? 1500 ESPN.
Yeah.
Right then and there. Big win over the Houston Dynamo.
Paddleford had a goal at some point in the last couple weeks.
He did, yeah.
Minnesota guy.
What was it, like 2 years ago? Played at Woodbury High School?
Yeah.
Like literally 2 years ago or something like that. I mean, 3 years ago, Woodbury High School, now transitioning to professional soccer. So, yeah, anyway, so Governor Walz last Friday declared it Teemu Pukki Day. With your connections, Phil, Judd, you as well, maybe me. Like at some point, can we get like one Thursday? I'm not saying every Thursday, but one Thursday, the governor declaring it Reckless Speculation Thursday. I like it.
Reckless speculation.
I'm sure it could be arranged.
I think we should pull some strings, make some phone calls. Let's get on it here. We got enough connections among the four of us. I mean, Declan always has random sources with organizations. We found out that Declan not only has a Portland Trailblazers source, but what was the other team? Was it the
Bucks.
Buccaneers?
Bucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got another Bucks source. Yeah,
Just an
Milwaukee
arbitrary-
or Tampa?
Tampa.
Tampa.
Okay.
It's even more
So
random.
I'm working on next dibs to get Pittsburgh Pirates. That's what other obscure baseball franchise should I be targeting for scoops? You think? I don't know.
Royals, perhaps.
Yeah, the Royals.
Royals
Yeah,
could
find
work.
a-
Yeah.
I'll give you the scoop on the Royals. They don't like to make trades in the division. That Michael A. Taylor trade took forever. Like the Twins were not getting Aroldis Chapman. They just
But
weren't.
Doogie, if you want Kyle Trask scoops,
Let me know.
the guy across the glass from you is
And
like
some Baker scoops. I got it. I one on Baker too.
I was with former Tampa Bay Buccaneer Kyle Rudolph the other day. How about that for a
nice.
name drop?
There you go. So let's get into some Viking stuff here since we're on the football subject. So this Boomer Esiason report, or I guess reckless speculation, if maybe they're doing that on WFAN, but so can you what is it? But is he saying that Dalvin Cook has like a $7 million offer out there to return to the Vikings? Is that what he's saying, or what?
The
what was
word. Yes, if you're trusting the aggregators aggregating what Boomer said properly, I saw one report on heavy.com that Boomer is suggesting that the Vikings are offering Dalvin Cook $7 million to return to play for them here in 2023. I don't see it, Phil. I don't trust the report. Now, hey, Boomer has infinitely more sources than I do. I wonder if it's coming from the New York Jets with all his Jets connections, the Jets interested in Dalvin. I think it's going to be the Jets or the Dolphins. I mentioned Dallas a while ago that I think at least internally the Cowboys have had conversations, but not necessarily sure I see Dalvin landing in Dallas. So I think it'll be the Jets on Hard Knocks. How great would that be? Or the Miami Dolphins. I don't sense the Vikings are interested in bringing Dalvin Cook back. They are ready to roll with Alexander Mattison as their number one running back.
If this is true, and I agree, it sounds far-fetched to me, Darren, but if it is true, this will be very disappointing to me. Like, if they were really going to bring him back now, it would make, in my opinion, no sense. Like, you moved on from this group of Kendricks and Thielen and Cook, right? For a reason here. Like, it's not like, man, we'd love to keep you, but it's like, no, you've been a very good Viking for an extended period of time, but that time is done now. And so I would be really, really surprised if O'Connell signed off on going back to a guy who's going to expect a ton of carries, when I think what you're going to ease into now is a very smart thing, a running back by committee situation that all in all is going to be cheap. I mean, $7 million to me would be shocking.
Yes, I mean, hey, that's the Viking side. Accurate, Judd. Agree with everything you just laid out. What about the Dalvin side? Going back to mid-January when I said he was not taking a pay cut to stay here in Minnesota. So now he'd return on a pay cut? No, you can discuss all you want why the Vikings are moving on. Dalvin is also moving on. He is now ready for his next opportunity. It just isn't happening, but I find it fascinating that somebody with his reputation, Boomer's reputation, would toss this information out there.
I think part of the problem, though, is this. Dalvin and his agent in particular, who I don't know, but I've heard a lot about, and let's say delusional might fit the description here.
Zach Hiller, yeah.
Yes, I think Zach thought, oh, if my guy gets let go, we're going to get him a multi-year contract, rich contract. This league isn't doing that now. And so that's the problem. I guarantee you, no matter where Cook ends up, it's going to amount to a one-year deal at a figure that is far less than what Zach and Dalvin expected. And that's why this concerns me a little bit. Like, where did Esiason get this, and why are we even talking about it at this point? But that whole thing of we're not going to take a pay cut was a Pollyanna flight of fancy of two people that don't have any idea where this league is in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Now, why are we talking about it? Because, heck, Judd, it's the dog days of summer, right? I mean, heck, in 10 days, we'll be celebrating, holding hands, singing Kumbaya and Egan, right, at TCO Performance Center, 10, 11, 12 days, right? What is today, the 13th? So what?
1 year to my wedding.
2 weeks or 1 week from today? I forget. I've got the schedule somewhere. But pretty soon, before the calendar flips to August, right, we'll be celebrating training camp. We'll have all sorts of different talking points, different things to discuss. But right now, there just isn't much going on. We're curious where Dalvin Cook will land. We're curious where DeAndre Hopkins will land. But neither is landing here in Minnesota.
I'm doing a little digging here. So the agency is LAA, Loyalty Above All Sports and Entertainment Agency, right? And I have some unsolicited advice for Zach Hiller and LAA.
I will send this to him. Go.
I would say at least 50%, potentially more of their client base, running backs. LAA is in the running back business. Dalvin and James Cook, J.K. Dobbins. There's a bunch of other sort of unknown. They do have Zay Flowers, the receiver.
Mo Ibrahim, the former Gopher. Who I think was given some bad advice pre-draft not to run, but that's another story. But yeah, they do have a lot of running backs.
Like 50% on their website are running backs. I think they may want to diversify their client portfolio. And if you can't make money off Dalvin Cook, you might want to diversify the positions that you're representing. So
now I'm still standing by what I've said for a while, that I believe Dalvin Cook has at least one more really, really good year in that body. That shoulder reconstruction surgery he had back in January is going to do him a lot of good. It just isn't going to be here. So whether it's the Jets or the Dolphins, I think Dalvin is going to have a really, really good year.
All right, Declan, you do have the clip now here. Just to put a bow on this part of the conversation. To clarify, should we play this real quick?
Yeah, we'll just play this quick.
So Dalvin Cook has a $7 million a year contract from the Minnesota Vikings right now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but he hasn't accepted it, and I don't think he really wants to go back there. Okay. I think that he really wants to play for the Miami Dolphins, and I believe that Drew Rosenhaus is trying to play the Dolphins off the Jets, just like they did with Tyreek Hill.
I like Boomer, too. I really do. I like watching him on CBS during the NFL season.
He's great.
But, Drew Rosenhaus doesn't represent Dalvin Cook. And he doesn't have, I'm telling you, he doesn't have that offer. He just doesn't.
Yeah. So, okay, and I don't know that there's any new developments on the Danielle Hunter front, but we are 2 weeks-ish away from Vikings training camp opening up. Does that serve as a deadline here? Does there almost have to be movement, or could this result in a holdout? Where do you think things are at with the Danielle Hunter? Because he sat out OTAs, minicamp, everything, so until there's a resolution, I have a hard time believing he's just going to show up on the first day of training camp.
Well, agree. I mean, I don't think he'll be there without some sort of resolution that first day, those first couple of days. There will have to be some sort of resolution. But do I think July 25th is a drop dead date? I don't. I think this could extend beyond that. But I think things are going to ramp up next week. A lot of the Vikings people are trickling back into town. I think next week is going to be a relatively active week. Don't know if talk will turn into action, but I do think there's going to be a good amount of heavy dialogue next week. So to be determined. Trust me, Phil, very much on my radar. It's been on my radar here for a while. I just don't necessarily have a succinct update, but I will, continue to chase whatever I can on that front. But I don't think end of July, is any sort of like drop dead deadline.
They
really
can't
don't.
trade him at this point,
Well,
right?
they could. They could.
They're
Yeah,
trying
they
to,
could.
but they seem like they're full steam ahead, trying to win games this season. I would just.
Brian Flores has made it very clear he wants to kneel. I mean, he absolutely
Right.
wants to kneel. That doesn't mean Brian is going to get his way, but Brian Flores wants to kneel Hunter.
So off that point, the two Dukes, if I'm not mistaken, and I know that this applied to the mandatory mini camp that Hunter missed, I believe it also applies to training camp. And it's not a deadline per se, but it does add an interesting layer of intrigue. I believe that the new CBA does not allow for forgiveness of fines for missing mandatory days. So if Danielle's not there for the first week of camp, I think he gets fined because it's obviously mandatory for those days. And in the old days, if a contract got done, the team just says, you know what, here's your money back. Again, I don't think that creates a necessary deadline, but I do think that it's an interesting curveball now where you're not going to want to have to pay those fines if at the end of the day, a contract is going to be agreed to.
Well, are you sure on the mini camp portion of that? Now it was what,
Yes.
$49,000?
Yes, he can't.
My understanding was that they could waive that if things get resolved. Now maybe it's different with training camp. Declan, do you have a sec to maybe try to look that up?
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, what are we talking about? How many thousands of dollars per day?
Yep, I'm just saying. I think
now
the
it could
new
start to add up, I
CBA.
suppose.
Yeah.
I thought, I will defer to you on the verbiage in the new CBA. I just thought when it comes to mini camp, that $49,000 fine that was handed out for him missing the mandatory mini camp in mid-June, that they could waive that.
Ben Simmons is the first thing that pops up, by the way, when you type in fine and CBA into Google. Just want that to be known.
Remember when we were sitting here 2 years ago on these scoop sessions wondering, gosh, can the Timberwolves find a way to buy low on Ben Simmons? Boy, old Macadac, he's rarely wrong. I know you'll find, but that would have been a bad one. They're still trying to move him, I'm guessing, right? The Nets?
I would hope so.
I mean, who the heck wants him?
Yeah, it's kind of
There has to be evidence that he can do something on the court, that the back isn't all jacked up.
Dude, there's like videos of him playing pickup games, just cashing jump shots. But he doesn't. But he gets to an NBA game and just freezes up. Sorry, Jed. Okay, go ahead.
I found it.
Yeah.
The previous CBA in the National Football League allowed teams to forgive accumulated fines once a deal was reached. That is no longer an option unless the absent player is on a rookie contract.
Okay.
So all accumulated fines from mandatory days are now you have to pay them.
Okay. Got it.
I'm just saying it's a
the thinking
wrinkle.
that they could waive the mini camp. I didn't know about training camp, but thank
It's a
you. I
wrinkle.
appreciate that.
It's a wrinkle. It adds a little bit, just a tinge, just a seasoning of urgency.
Is there another contract here just for fun? So, this is now going back to March. Kirk Cousins camp and the Vikings basically agreed, hey, there's too much of a gap here. I'm sure the Cousins camp would love another multi-year, highly paid, lucrative contract. The Vikings said, you know what? We're just, we're good for now. We're going to reshuffle some of your money for accounting purposes, but let's just revisit this at a later date. And Kwesi has kind of said now in the rare interviews he does that, doesn't mean that we're maybe never going to entertain it, but for now we're just agreeing to part ways. Do you think there's any chance those contract discussions would pick up before the season? I mean, if I'm Kirk at this point, Doogie, and my stock's on the rise because I was a good family man on Netflix for 8 episodes and I played with ribs sticking out of my skin for an entire season, never threw my offensive line under the bus. My stock's on the rise. I would just get to free agency and let 3 or 4 other teams enter the mix. Is there any chance those two sides could talk before week 1?
Well, I think there is a chance. To my knowledge, Phil, those discussions haven't taken place anytime recently, right? So it's trending in the direction of not happening, but never say never on that, right? I mean, I do think there is a possibility that Kirk Cousins is this team's quarterback in 2024, right? So for that to take place, yeah, eventually there would be some dialogue between Rob Brzezinski, others with the Vikings, and Mike, who is Kirk's agent. But so far, no. There's no steam on any of that dialogue happening.
And if Kirk is to be believed, and after what I've seen in this documentary, I have no reason not to believe a good family man like Kirk. He was very adamant, at his last access, that if there's going to be talk about an extension, it's going to be in March of 24. So the thing about him that's sort of a wild card too, guys, is this. While I think he wanted an extension, he's played on the last year of his contract, 3 times in Washington? Because he got franchised a couple times.
Got franchised a couple times, right? And then hit unrestricted free agency. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, he is clearly comfortable enough to do that now. So I guess I'm buying it. I guess I'm buying that basically when the Vikings said no. And Kirk, the thing about Kirk is he does come off as a nice guy, but he's definitely in some ways hard-headed, if that's the right word.
Oh, yes.
Very hard-headed. So if they told him, hey, dude, you know what? Not going to extend you. I could totally see his camp saying, okay, cool. We'll talk in March, and I'll talk to everybody then.
He likely knows that he's got Kyle Shanahan in his back pocket. Now, hey, there may be some more clarity after the 23 season on the 49ers quarterback situation, but I'm just saying, that marriage almost seems inevitable at some point. I don't know how much longer Kirk's going to play. And again, I'm not ruling out Kirk being the Viking quarterback in 2024, but I feel like at some point that is going to happen. Okay. Kirk with Kyle.
Here's my question. All right, let's go from inside information to reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation.
Let's say the 49ers get to training camp. And I just saw another thing. There's some random report that the Falcons may have called on Trey Lance at some point. But let's say they get to training camp and Trey Lance just doesn't look like a guy that's going to take you to a Super Bowl. The Niners' goal is to win a Super Bowl this season, right? And Brock Purdy is not full go, and he's also the last pick in the draft that they souped up. They might still think he's good, but there's better guys that could take us to a Super Bowl. Maybe he's not ready to rock and roll. They're not in love with Trey Lance, and Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. And the Niners start to get through a preseason game and another one, and they start to think, oh, my God. It's kind of a Vikings 2010 situation where you're watching Sage Rosenfels and Tavares Jackson throw ground balls at practice, right? Get on the plane and get to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. If the Niners panicked a little bit and said, okay, Vikings, we know you're trying to win this season too, but come on. We're further along here. We'll give you a first-round pick for Kirk Cousins on the eve of the NFL season. If you're the Vikings, would you accept that? Knowing you would probably almost certainly take a step, because now Nick Mullins is your starter, right? You would be consciously taking a step back, but you'd be getting a first-round pick for Kirk instead of him walking for nothing.
Oh, God, I love this. I love this.
Whoa.
Where do I sign?
I mean, we could have the same conversation about the Twins trading Sonny Gray, right, in some aspects.
No, because I think the Vikings are more of a serious competitive
the Vikings are maybe going to win 11 games, and
the Twins I have.
But you need to be realistic about that. What are the chances they get to 11? What are the chances, even in the weaker of the two conferences, they can make a deep run in January?
And
they're going to score points.
I feel like the Vikings have made their decision about 2023 at QB, so I don't think the Vikings.
I agree. I don't
would ever do
I don't
that.
see this happening.
I love the speculation.
Hey, to fit the theme of Reckless Speculation Thursday, something to opine about.
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
I would think long and hard if the Niners actually offered that, Phil. Man, how would you turn that down? A first?
Well, because you would be punting on the season.
Sure,
right? Unless
you would. Yeah,
and it's a late first. It's probably
but you have to be realistic about your chances this year.
All right, Judd, a first and a third.
And if the first helps you get to where you want to be, ultimately at the end of January into February, more realistically 25 or 26, maybe 24. How would you turn down a first?
A first and Trey Lance, and I might talk to you.
Well, they would probably do that, right? If it got to that point, they'd need to get rid of.
I mean, I probably want Trey Lance back for. I want some type of car that I can at least examine under the hood, and Trey Lance would be a guy that Kevin O'Connell could definitely, for better or for worse, work with. God, that's just a.
I mean, that extra one, Phil. It becomes realistic to go get Caleb Williams. Or Drake May, right? if you can offer your own first, plus San Francisco's first, plus a future first, that gives you a fighting chance because the Vikings still would be probably too good to be in that top 5 to 7 area. But if they're picking like 9th, 10th, 11th,
Nick Mullins is their quarterback.
you give up
That's
that.
the thing. You would be definitely.
Well,
in
you
the
would
top
eventually
15.
go to Trey, and maybe Trey makes some things happen. But you can find a way to get to like 6-ish, 7-ish wins. Maybe
I don't
more
think
like
that
6.
you can do this to the
That you're
current,
not picking top 5.
to the current players, though. I don't think that you can do this.
And that's why it's not happening.
This, to me, would be the same as when Teddy went down in 16, parading Sean Hill into the middle of the room and saying, hey, this is our guy. You can't do that to Justin Jefferson. Like, if you traded him if you traded Kirk in April and had
Then they have time to process it.
Yes.
Well, you can do it to Justin if you've paid him.
I'm just saying, I think that there's a point that's fair and not fair, and I think doing it right before the season with a guy who is again, that's the thing about Kirk. He's got you because it's not like he sucks.
No, he's one of the top 12 quarterbacks in the world.
Exactly.
But he's also going to be, 36 the next time he's under contract, after the season.
But it's not happening. It just isn't. I mean, the Vikings
Agreed.
feel like there's still a window to be uber competitive here in 23.
But I pose it because the goal isn't to be uber competitive. The goal is to win a Super Bowl. And if you said, hey, everyone across the board, Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell, put all objectivity in front of you here, okay? Just take away your feelings. Do you think this is a Super Bowl winning team? I don't think I'll speak for Kwesi here, I guess. I don't think Kwesi would say yes. So if I said, listen, your upside is to win 11 games, maybe win a first-round playoff game, but you're not going to the conference championship game, if that's what you think the destiny of this team is, and you have a chance to get something first-round draft capital, right? Like that's the hook to this question. It's really...
The other problem, too, and again, this is something we don't hear a ton about. The other problem is you have an ownership group that never would go for this because
Agreed. It's not happening.
I think Thielen and Cook and Kendricks being gone probably was tough for them to process. I still think, and I don't think it's been officially reported, but I don't care. I still think the 2021 to 22 team came back basically intact. Not because the new GM and coach said, let's roll with a bunch of old guys, but because the Wolves said, we want these guys back. They're like longtime Vikings. Let's give them a last run. Let's give them a last chance. So I think the Wolves are always, Phil, going to be sort of an impediment into doing what we want, which is screw the present. How do we get to a Super Bowl in the future for sure?
And I would say I would probably need more than I would need a first round pick and something on at that stage where because it's not like doing it in March where we're gonna make this nuclear move, but you all have 6 months to sort of process and whatever. And I will also say as a programming note, boy, Dex, I don't know if we can even put this on social media. Like, what if we take that question and put it on social media?
I love my clickbait officer job, and I love stirring people up. I cannot put this out on Twitter. I don't think we can.
People.
They won't
This is right here. This is a safe space to throw ideas like that out and kick them around on a Reckless Speculation Thursday. Once this lives, if that clip lives and breathes on TikTok and Instagram, and people don't have the context of like, hey, this is a safe space. This is like a therapy session almost.
This is, the Harvey Dent Two-Face. This is the PR side of me that's saying, do not put this out. This will only result in bad PR for SKOR North.
Yeah. This is what players
we couldn't make it more clear that it's not happening, right?
Well,
that it's Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Doesn't matter.
What we do know is Kyle Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins.
Yep, but this is the type of thing that pisses players off when they claim to us that you took me out of context.
I will put in bold letters on top. This is for example, this is not our idea, and people then still assume that it was our idea that we came up with. Boomer Esiason says this, and I'm like, this was not our idea. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I actually have a scoop for you guys, and we'll get to the rest of Doogie's scoop bag here, okay?
Yeah.
A 3M open scoop. Hideki Matsuyama is the latest name to opt in, Declan, to the 3M open.
Yes, he made that official on Tuesday.
Yep. Yeah, 3M open.
But we'll take it, Phil.
July
Absolutely.
24th through the 30th coming up. Tony Finau, we got to see, obviously, this quarterback documentary. Earlier this year, we got to see full swing. We actually saw Tony and his family staying here in Minnesota as he won the 3M Open last year. He's coming back to defend the title. So a great field again. Go to 3mopen.com for tickets. You don't have to watch me and go hack it up there. You can actually go watch the professionals from those back tees hit some bombs off it. 18, that has one of the toughest water hazards.
18.
In the entire, I think it has the most balls in the water of any hole on the PGA Tour. People love to go for it on that hole. So go to 3mopen.com/tickets to get yours today.
You can see guys either eagle their way to a great finish to a round or triple bogey their way to a train wreck. It's wildly entertaining.
Looking forward to seeing my guy from North Oaks, Frankie Sappin III. He got a sponsor's exemption. He will be playing in the 3M Open.
I'm a little upset
Local
about
angles.
this.
Look at that. The scoops on
Dukes, why don't you turn over the burlap sack of scoops and empty it on the table here for us?
All right, waiting to hear official word, but Jorge Polanco is very, very close to beginning a rehab assignment. May even begin as soon as tomorrow with the St. Paul Saints. Gophers pitcher George Clausen still has college eligibility, but he'll sign with the Philadelphia Phillies early next week. Brett Bateman, Gophers outfielder from Mounds View High School, already in Mesa, Arizona. He was a middle-round pick of the Chicago Cubs, 6th or 7th-round pick, so he is there to sign his contract. Wendell Moore Jr., Wolves' first-round pick a year ago. He has missed the last 2 Summer League games with a knee injury. I am told very, 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 very precautionary.
Interesting. Yeah, he's got I think there's a couple guys, even like Leonard Miller, they play different positions, but if you're looking at who's going to be like the 11th guy or 10th guy in the rotation, Wendell Moore, man, we just got to stay healthy, got to hit some threes, see what happens there. But there's your scoop session here.
Well, and they may still, they still have one open roster spot. Do they eventually convert Luka Garza to a standard deal? But Matt Lloyd from the Wolves front office, he went in Rome, right? Like all these free agents do these showcases during Vegas Summer League, right? Because the entire league is in Vegas, so why not see how many teams can show up? So he has seen over the past few days Harry Giles III, Dion Waiters. Remember pre-draft Anthony Edwards, the comp? Dion Waiters? Well, Dion Waiters had a tryout the other day for NBA team, so the Wolves had a presence there. There were some other guys. The Wolves have seen a bunch of guys, a bunch of free agents. So no sense that anybody has like super appealed to them the last couple days, but could be interesting what the Wolves do. I mean, the question is, when watching Summer League, is Josh Minott, right? What sort of step forward has the second-round pick from a year ago taken? Can he be that 9th/10th man, Phil? I think there's a distinct possibility he can be, that Josh Minott is going to earn some decent minutes next season.
Dude, Leonard Miller he reminds me of Chris Bosh from like 15 years ago.
When you put up the numbers he did last year in the G League, one of the top 5 or 6 leagues in the world, like, you're fully capable. I mean, his rebounding is going to translate instantly, but
he's got
there's a lot to like about him.
He's got that little like fadeaway elbow jumper, baseline jumper. He can shoot some threes. Obviously, he can finish. I think Alan Horton had the number. It's 3 Summer League games, but he's finishing at the rim at like a 70% clip. He's running on the fast break.
Phil, I know multiple teams that had him as a first-round pick. I mean, when you go 33, right, you're essentially a first-round pick. So that's a first-round talent. They signed him to a 4-year deal. First 2 years guaranteed, then a half of that 3rd year. Then the 4th year, full team option. So it's a sweetheart of a deal for the Wolves. I'm with you, a guy that I really, really like.
Yeah, there he is, Darren Doogie Wolfson, 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department, and you can hear him a couple times a week here on Mackey and Judd, the SKOR North YouTube channel. He also has the Scoop podcast, which you can find Apple, Spotify, SKORNorth.com. So great stuff, Dukes.
All right, boys, I'm off to hang with Josh Metellus, who's going to have a big role with the Vikings this year. John Michael Schmitz is also at this workout, a bunch of other guys. Sam Schluter, who's now a Vikings offensive lineman. So I'm off to hang with some NFL guys. So I will review that early next week with you.
Is this at the Vikings facility, or where is this?
It is nearby the Vikings facility, but not specifically at the Vikings facility.
If you see our guys, Jay Searles or A. Boone lurking around, say hi from the
I
think there's a decent chance I'll be
Let him know what he
seeing
calls
A.
me,
Boone.
too, because he always has a different adjective to call me every time he brings this up.
Very, very good chance I'll see Mr. Boone, so I will pass along your hellos and all that good stuff.
See you, Dukes.
All right,
see you, boys. Bye-bye.
See you. There he is, Darren Doogie Wolfson.
Reckless speculation.
Dude, I think people are gonna get a hold of that Kirk Cousins question. I'm almost regretting bringing that up, man. Like people just SKOR North is wants that.
Well, if you don't take it out of context, it's fine.
Kirk.
If you don't, if you clipped it solely and without the background of the first part of the conversation, then yes, it's inflammatory.
I am staying away from posting that on social media.
Tell AJ too, and yeah.
Do not post Mackey's idea. Yeah, please.
Just take a one day hiatus from it. Also on Purple Daily, we are going through our multi-part review of the Netflix docuseries Quarterback. So I by the way, posted a big long Twitter thread about it today with like 60% praise and then 40% like, here's some of the things that are obviously kind of holding Kirk back. And you'd be shocked to know that Twitter does not find the nuance in that tweet.
We've had a tough week. Like, we've been getting dumped on by a lot of upset folks who I don't think watch the show. I think that's the most important thing. I think a lot of them don't watch the show and just hate our
Which is fine. That's fine. I mean,
that's fine.
But they can't stand our Twitter personalities, so.
Yeah. Well, you are kind of an ass on Twitter.
Yeah. I'm the least ass.
I'm perfect on Twitter, and so is Declan. But I don't know about your personality on Twitter.
I'm sports dad. I bring stuff that people don't want to hear.
We need like an 80s, early 90s sitcom intro theme for the sports dad.
I think we need. You know what I think we need? A spin-off show on Netflix, building on my stardom.
Following the sports dad around behind the scenes, seeing how he plays through pain sometimes.
Yep.
Cold tub.
It'll scratch in my throat.
Eight parts. Dawn, Judd, and Stella. We'll do 8 parts of my life. Sports dad.
We can get the dog Stella to do those little like between scenes interviews with the Netflix production crew.
But I need the cameras in my house constantly because they've got to like see her at 3:30 barking at my ass to get up to go outside and get a treat. Like they've got to see the full thing.
The shake.
Yes, the constant shake.
It's like, we get it. Okay, we get it. Yep.
The interpretation of Stella. He is an a-hole.
I just
what a jerk.
My dad just farted. Anyways, all right. Okay, all right, we'll see you guys over on Purple Daily too later.